welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about superlatives for the month of February. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about superlatives. Because I want to know what's better. I want to know what's best. I want to know what's best. I want to know what's people's favorites. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's show.
Is that all we're talking about, Ted?
It's not. We're probably going to talk about patrons because we love them.
Yes, we do love our patrons. So thank you to all 28 folks who have reached out and are supporting us right now. If you want to become a patron of the show, you can. There's plenty of tiers, and we have a Card Talk swag that we give out once a year. And this year's swag, I think, is going to be pretty epic. It's definitely a step up from the last couple of years that we've done. Everybody at every tier will get something, but the $5 a month and more will definitely get the main swag. So, but thank you. If you want to become a patron, you just join right down here. You can just go to patreon.com/cardtalk2018, and you can do your thing. So, I would like to thank new patron Reagan. I would guess that it's Reagan. I've taught enough students that I think that Reagan's name is Reagan. Reagan, if you go by something else, please let me know. Send me a message on Facebook or wherever you listen, and we will make sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So, in order of join date, with the most recent patron first, going down to our most veteran patron. Ready? In one breath. Reagan, Robert, Brandon, Scott, Joe, Alex, Edmund, Peter, Niall, Carl, Bardane, James, Jake, Joshua, Matt, Russ, Justin, Jason, Kyle, Daniel, Mike, Robert, David, Sean, Lou, Phil, Joseph, and Dominic. Who is the Bominic? That's
Dominic.
Dominic the Bominic.
And I thought I was going to have to call an ambulance for you.
One of you two eventually is going to have to call an ambulance because my face turns purple, which is funny because that's exactly the color of the sphere that we're talking about this week on Superlative February. Just so everybody just very quickly gets the rundown, every February, Card Talk has a extravaganza month where we talk about something and we release a whole bunch of episodes, to my chagrin, every February. So in 2019, we did Sylvan February, where we talked about a whole bunch of Sylvan cards. I think, Grant, that was like 26 shows that we did with that or something like that. Stupid.
It was ridiculous.
It was silly. And then Couples February last year in 2020, we did 12 shows in a month. And now this year, Superlative February, we have 12 shows plus one planned. So February 1st happens to be a Monday. And then so the plus one will happen probably the very first week in March, and will be like an overtime show. And what we did... Oh, go ahead, Grant.
Just to give you a little fact, this is not me that tells David we are going to do an extravaganza month. It wasn't even my idea. This was all David, and he decided to run with it every year. So,
yeah,
just a little bit of background information there. You see, it's much to his chagrin, but it was his brainchild.
Well, you got to have something that you do, you know? I think that this is a way to bring
the survey was it's a very wonderful survey. It was actually a really great idea to get all this insight, and it's great to collectively think, and we got a very large response from it too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yep, we got 130 respondents to the survey. It was crazy, and we thought it was a great way to just kind of honor the end. I don't even know, the hiatus of the game. You know, we've gotten everything released that has been planned to be released, and you know, so I thought it was great. It would be a great way to honor kind of this ending of the game by not having us tell you what's awesome, but having you tell us what's awesome, because this game is so centered around the community that it's just in my mind, this was just the way that it had to be. So, that's what we're doing. So, last episode we talked about leadership heroes, and this episode we're going to talk about leadership allies. And this is probably going to be the shortest of all the shows. I'm predicting it right now.
Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. Because I think that, and we talked a little bit about this last show when we were talking about the leadership sphere. Like when you think about leadership allies, I mean,
Faramir.
you think about Faramir, and you think of, I think,
Faramir.
I don't know, Grant, what leadership allies do you think of?
Thrice times Faramir.
Snowball Scout.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I think about these kind of dinky small dinky small allies that kind of chump a lot, right? Like Snowborn Scout, Aaron Ryder, Squire of the Citadel. Just I don't know. Like I know all spheres have them, but I feel like those are the ones that make it in my deck because I just don't use leadership all that often. So I don't know. Grant, do you want to talk about favorite or best?
Well, to make Ted happy, let's go favorite.
Favorites.
Yay.
Okay. So here we go. This is going to be Ted's favorite section this week. You ready?
I'm ready.
Actually,
Even call me Teddy if they're a high enough patron.
I'm not. I'm going to wait to. I was going to do this Family Feud style, but I'll wait until we do our extra bonus category at the end.
Okay.
So, Ted, what's the community's favorite leadership ally? I mean, I'm asking you for a reason.
Right. Okay. Right. It's Faramir.
Right. Yeah. Faramir. By far and away, not by far and away, but Faramir, like, because favorites are so subjective, right? Like everybody can have a favorite ally. Some people put Snowborn Scout, Squire of the Citadel.
Yep.
Nobody put Citadel Custodian on there. Just FYI. Grant or Ted.
Okay, we still have some more results to go over,
Yeah.
David. So
there was
Hold
no
on.
Citadel's Custodian. There was so there was some of those little ones, but Faramir had 29 favorite votes, and I think that's pretty reasonable for Faramir. But there was 3 others, kind of second tier favorites. So, Grant, can you name a couple of those second tier favorite heroes or allies?
The Dwarven Sellsword.
Oh, no. I don't even think that was mentioned. But no. What are you thinking? I mean, but there is. I mean, the sellsword is, is an interesting ally.
After our last conversation with people loving the dwarves, the dwarvish heroes,
there is a dwarf. There is a dwarf on this.
it's probably gonna be my second guess.
I'm still gonna let Grant give it one more try because
Okay.
I feel like if Katie were listening, he'd probably, and he didn't get it, he would punch her. She would punch him.
Gimli.
Ally Gimli is good. And like we did a show, Katie came out and talked about Ally Gimli, and and now with the MOTK, Messenger of the King contract, that Gimli is a legit ally that's gonna be used a lot. It's got readying, and it's so Gimli was made it to the top 4. So Ted, was that what your guess was going to be there, Gimli?
Yeah, mine was gonna be Ally Gimli for sure.
There's one between Faramir and Gimli, which I'm surprised you have to channel your inner Dave.
Well, okay, I know. It Rosie.
Yeah.
I
mean, Rosie's it, right?
Sweet Rosie, which we had such a wonderful Rosie Cotton episode.
I know that was a lot of fun. That episode was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
We really great Rosie episode. So make sure to check out that to get more in depth and special shenanigans and guest stars. We got crazy.
Yeah, we got crazy. Sarah McLeod came on the show and talked because she's the one who played Rosie Cotton.
Yep.
And so she introduced the Rosie Cotton Cod. I love the way she says that. Who else? There's one other G that made the list. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. A low down elf going crazy. Bringing attachments in for free if you're a lady. Grant, Ted, anybody? No? Still no?
Well, okay. I was waiting for Grant to jump in. I'm gonna guess Galadriel.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah, which is really interesting because for a favorite ally, and I heard this also on a recent episode of Cardboard of the Rings, like Galadriel ally never makes it into a deck of mine, and I don't know why. She costs 3, she stays in for a turn, but you can search the top 5 to pull in any attachment that's 3 or less for free. Like, so basically, like you get...
I've had Galadriel gift me the sword that was broken, and it was great. She's like, here, did you drop this? And Aragorn's like, I did, thanks.
Thank you. Is Galadriel ally that good? I mean, I know that she's way overshadowed by her hero, but the ally Galadriel can be put in any sort of deck. Like it's not unique to like it can be put in any sort of deck with leadership access.
Yeah, I think 3's a bit steep if you're only splashing a leadership hero and you have no acceleration to build 3 turns to get her effect. But if you're running 2 leadership heroes or have a way to move resources or any resource acceleration, she can help out quite a bit.
Yeah. Grant, what were you saying, bud?
Yeah, she's definitely worth a cost. I've run her a few times.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But it's not just the fact of being able to drop an attachment in for free. It gives you a free scrying on your deck. So you can look at the top 5 cards, even if you don't have an attachment there, you can then rearrange those top cards.
Right.
It's not just where most of them is you look at the top card of the deck and then you have to shuffle. You get to rearrange them in an order that benefits what you want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've done have we done an episode on her?
Not on ally Galadriel. Not on Galadriel ally.
Glad ally. Yeah. Yeah, her ability's quite good. As Grant said, you're also like drawing a card and you're getting the reduction on it. So, if you end up pulling a 2-cost attachment, you are really ahead, right? Because you ended up paying 1 resource to like draw that card, to like get a card, and then you still had her quest for a round and maybe soak some archery before she goes away. I see why it made the list.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if you guys got what I was trying to say, but like she's Noldor and Noble, but you can put her in a Gondor deck, in a mono leadership Gondor deck just because of her ability, and you're not going to lose anything from it.
Right.
That's what I'm. Like she's good in any deck. It doesn't have to be one of those thematic only decks. That's
yeah.
I mean, obviously, you have to have some sort of attachment.
Yes, I've had her whiff before, and that is a sad feeling when any effect whiffs, right? Your Glathram Minstrel or whatever it is you're doing, but she can miss on her ability, so you generally want to have a high attachment count in your deck.
Right. Yeah. That's no joke. But let's move on. I mean, that's allies. And so, I mean, and it's funny. Oh, we have to do best allies.
Well, the best though, right? So let's see how best favors from different, because there's always knife edge line. What do people prefer versus what they think is best, and
this was
is the best people's favorites.
Right. And okay, so Grant, since Ted was all big mouth about best, what do you think the best ally in the leadership sphere is?
Faramir.
By Faramir and away. More than 4 times better than the next best ally, according to the community. Okay.
And that is amazing considering Faramir came out in the core set.
Absolutely.
That's real true.
Yeah.
So we went through 10 years worth of adventure packs, deluxe expansions, saga expansions, print on demand scenarios, the lot, and he is still number 1.
Yeah. And we did a show on him at the very beginning, and it may be worth going back now that Messenger of the King is a contract and we can put Messenger of the King on him and things like that. But like Faramir, I don't know, like he's just right costed. He's not overpowered in terms of his stats, and he gives that willpower boost. But you also don't have to play into that willpower boost. Like you can just use that you don't have to have an ally swarm in order to make that willpower boost worth it. You can just put Faramir in a deck, slot him in, just like Galadriel, and he works in just about any deck. And it's with as long as you have the resources to pay, the 4 resources. I think everything about him is fair, and he's not considered. I don't think he's considered overpowered. I just think he's a strong ally.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he's like Gimli in that respect.
Right.
He can fit in any deck.
Right. He's not stuck in a Gondor deck, or what other traits does he have? Faramir has noble.
I think he's ranger too.
Yeah, so like you can put stuff on him, I guess. But
Gondor, noble, ranger for an ally. Yeah. He can wear leather boots too if you're playing lore.
You love leather boots, don't you?
Yeah. It's a writing effect on.
Right.
For one,
I know. Spoiler alert, we're going to do lore cards in the next 2 weeks.
Ooh.
No, I don't know. That's an anti-spoiler alert. Okay, so
I thought we were missing Outlaw because it just didn't make the ratings.
It didn't make the ratings, right?
Yeah.
The most popular sphere was the Baggins sphere.
I thought it was Fellowship.
So Ted, who's the second best ally?
Well, that's the thing. I think of all the survey results, when we compare best to favorite, my guess is that leadership is going to align almost exactly the same, and I'm going to go with Rosie also.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think more so than any other, because those allies they're strong and they're fun to play, and Rosie just goes in. You only need 1 Hobbit hero. You don't even need any. You can just play her for 2 willpower.
I know. Yeah.
But she has this extra ability to use that stat to shift it around.
Right.
So
she's just good.
It's great. It's great. It's fun.
And she's fun too. Like that's the thing. Like I think
you can do shenanigan-y things with her and boosting her willpower and try to crack that Rosie puzzle. We have players that are dedicated to doing that.
Right. Not the least of which were Chad and Christian on the on our episode that we had.
Right.
For
Rosie. Check out that episode. It's all there.
Yeah. It's funny because we normally don't do shameless self-promotion on our shows. We rely on the listeners to just go back and look through our back catalog. But that Rosie show was a lot of fun to put together. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun to be a part of that show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's really it. The best 2 were there, and then everything else was down on the list. Like 1 or 2 or 4 maybe. But
did we have a worst category? Did you ask people to vote for their worst?
No, but okay. What's the worst leadership ally?
Well, I'm just gonna, the community joke of Brock Ironfist. I think leadership owns the single worst ally in the entire game.
Absolutely,
Brock Ironfist.
Actually, there's two, because you've also got the Citadel Custodian.
Check out that episode. I beg to differ. Check out the Custodian
Easy for
Citadel
you to say.
episode for my rebuttal.
Yeah, more shameless self-promotion here. Oh, we should do more of that. We should. I mean,
This episode is just self-promotion.
I know.
Well,
we have to
yeah,
stretch it out.
Yeah, we're talking about the whole sphere, right? So we don't want to go individually in every single card.
Right.
But we've already discussed them at length. And
actually, one of our most popular shows on the audio side, for those people who don't know, we do our YouTube videos and then we do an audio side. It's the same show, but the video is, it's just two different formats that you can listen to take in the show. But on the audio side, Brock Iron Fist is like one of the most listened to audio shows. It's crazy. It's like, why is everybody listening to our Brock Iron Fist show?
Because they love the fact that we hate them.
Yeah, they want to hear the bashing.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I think I'd like to just kind of comb over just a couple of allies that I think are some honorable mentions.
For worst or for best?
No, just kind of in general to review them, like kind of just things inside the leadership sphere.
I can also bring up I'll bring up the survey and see where those fell when you talk.
I just want to point out a somewhat unique ally, I think, in the leadership sphere, which is Ryder.
Ryder was mentioned.
Because Ryder is pretty unique in his ability that he's an ally that lets you shuffle resources to other players. And that's kind of a very, utility ability to be able to spread resource. And you can even do it within yourself, too. You can use him to shuffle over extra resources that you're, from your leadership hero to your whatever other sphere that you're playing is.
Right.
And you don't see effects. There are effects like that in the game. We talked about Denethor in the hero episode. Biffer hero has a similar effect in lore. But as far as allies go, it's a consistent ability that you can use every turn, and he's got 2 hit points on top of it.
I'd like to give an honorable mention to ally Angborn.
Angborn did make the list, so
obviously that ability for the response after an enemy is added to the staging area, you exhaust him to give that enemy +5 engagement cost until the end of the round, and then deal 1 direct damage to that enemy. Could be very potent in certain decks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any honorable mentions from your side, David?
Well, I'm looking at the thing. So there's 2 huge bumps for Faramir and then for Rosie. And then as I'm looking down, everything else only has 1 mention. But one of the ones that I thought is interesting is Ally Aristor.
Yeah.
Because that's a great for cycling out uniques in your deck, And
yeah.
so I like the Ally Aristor idea.
See, I prefer Ally Aristor over Hero Aristor, because obviously Hero Aristor makes you discard your entire hand, and then you draw an extra 3 cards per round.
Right.
Whereas Ally Aristor, you get to pick and choose, you pick to discard, and then you draw a card.
Right.
And I think that's a more viable solution, but that's just my personal game style. Obviously, I know there's a lot of people out there, C-Stan included, that absolutely love Aristor. Go check out the
Aristor
episode. Yep.
I'm gonna change this from superlative show to shameless self-promotion show. Somebody did mention Keely and Feely. You can't separate those two, I don't think, but the Keely Feely combo. I think that's good for the 5 dwarf thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right, you can't separate them because they both have the same effect and the same stat line. Whether they be spirit or leadership, they both are the same. They're the same part of the coin.
Right.
They allow you to fetch the other one from your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ted, do you have any other honorable mentions?
No, I'll just kind of point out that I think every single Outlands allies, with the exception of maybe the Aether Swordsman, might as well as have a printed leadership resource icon on them.
Actually,
Right,
the
because-
Warrior of Lassenark made the list as as the best. One person said that was the best leadership ally.
Okay, yeah. And it's
That's-
really weird, but it's like, right, Hunter of Lambdon and
Right.
the Herder, whatever the other lore one is.
Falis Herdsman.
Yeah, Herdsman. Thank you very much, David. Those might as well just be leadership cards,
Right.
right? Because you're going to play with Heirloom.
Unfalis Leadership Herdsman.
Yeah.
Right.
So just kind of an interesting thing, like, when we get to reviewing the other spheres, we already did tactics. No one's probably going to mention Knights of the Swan, or maybe there were a couple. Right, some people will mention it, thinking, but they're also putting Outlands. It's like its own unique thing. It's like its own, it's its own archetype. But I think a lot of times in my mind, I consider them all leadership heroes.
Yeah, they're all just kind of leadership allies going.
Or leadership allies. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I know. I knew exactly
leadership
what you mean,
hero. Yeah.
And it's funny that you bring up the Outlands, because there's also a new mechanic in the game that allows you to kind of build these fun, like, thematic decks, but aren't necessarily based around traits, and that's the contracts, right? And so the question that I had for the community was, which player card mechanic have you designed a deck around? And I picked 4 of them. So I picked like the One Ring. So have you built like the One Ring deck? Have you built a deck around a contract, a deck around side quests, and a deck around guarded cards? I only included guarded cards because of you, Ted. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going crazy about my love for guarded cards. But it turns out the most popular of those 4 was to build around contracts. The contracts are just so fun, right? So here we go. Are you ready to play? Card Talk Feud. Yeah.
That's enough.
Okay.
Copyright.
Okay. I don't know. I think you're allowed to. Well, we don't get paid for this show, so we can do whatever we want. Probably not, but okay. So you guys know that there are 8 contracts, and you know how this works. The top 5 answers are on the board.
All right.
Okay, even though there's 8 contracts. So Grant, you get to go first here. Which contract was the most fun to build around? And so keep in mind that the question was, which one's the most fun? Not the one that's the best or the strongest or the worst. But I think this will give us what the worst one is anyways. But so go ahead.
I've got 2 answers. My personal one, the most fun I've had, is 4th 3 Hunters.
That's the number 1 answer. 4th to 3 Hunters. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. And then... Okay, Grant, keep going.
Then I'd say probably Fellowship.
Fellowship is 4th. Ding, 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 ding. Good job with 15. 15. So, Grant, right now you have 42 points. I feel like if you just kept going, you probably would get them. So, Ted.
That's how the rules of the game work, David.
I know. Oh, you want to go for the clean sweep? So go ahead, Grant. Keep going.
He chose to play, right? But if he gets it wrong, I get to steal, and then I get all the points.
Okay, we won't do 3 strikes because that's not going to go very far.
Oh yeah, no,
we'll just do one strike.
Right,
one strike. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so go ahead, Grant.
I'd say the Perilous Voyage.
Maybe I'll cut in a the X on that they do for there. Perilous Voyage was actually the least popular when we did this. I think that suffered from Dreadnought being released like
relatively
around.
It was still kind of new.
Yeah, it was still new. So, but okay, Teddy, take it over.
All right. For the steal, I'm gonna say Grey Wanderer.
Grey Wanderer, number 3 on the list.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going, Ted. I'll let you keep going, even though that's not the rules of the game. But Grant has 42 points.
Yeah, so it's like the question is like which ones are not on there, right?
Mhm.
And then we've already,
I know.
but we've already named the top. We've already named 4 of the top 5, right?
3.
Right,
3
or
Hunters,
3,
Grey Wanderer, and Fellowship.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's like what's the most fun?
So what's the number 2? Let me ask that.
The number 2
The
contract.
number two contract.
I'm gonna go with Bond of Friendship. No.
No.
Messenger of the King?
MOTK is number 2 on the
Yeah.
list. I mean, it
I could
opened up
see that.
so many deck building options. MOTK
Right.
did that. It just like there's no way you could even exhaust any of the all of the options for Messenger of the King. So I think that's got to be up there. Like I'm shocked it wasn't number 1, but that's fine. Okay, Grant, what's the 5th? What's number 5 on the list? What's the bottom one? I don't have a crowd to ask, so normally I would point around and I'd go, number 5, and it would show up. But
I'd probably say Burglar's Turn.
nope.
It's gonna be on the bottom.
Yep, Burglar's Turn is one step above the Perilous Voyage. So, ready, Teddy? You have a choice between Council of the Wise and Bond of Friendship.
Yeah, so I feel like Bond of Friendship is going to be above Council of the Wise.
It is Bond of Friendship. That would be my favorite hero. That would be my favorite contract to use by far and away. I just love it. And one of the things that I find myself doing about the contracts is that and I think it's so funny because it's almost like the Cardboard of the Rings guys were just, or Chad from Cardboard of the Rings was like one little part ahead of me. He said when he builds a deck, it's almost like you can just use a contract. There's got to be one contract that you can use somehow, some way in a deck, like almost accidentally. And that's the way I feel like now. Now that the contracts are out, it's almost like I build the deck, I get it going, and then I'm like, oh, this is shaping up to be a 3 Hunters deck. Look at that. Or, oh my gosh, I have 2 heroes. What would be a good third one? Oh, Messenger of the King. Or, hey, look, I seem to have all this great cards, but I don't want to take up deck space, or I don't want to have 3 heroes. It looks like this is just going to be 1 hero. Like, it's almost like I accidentally fall into using the contracts because they're just so versatile. And so they're just so much fun to use by far and away. So,
yeah, I see what you mean. Sometimes, I have decks that were before the contracts. I'm like, okay, this deck only has like 6 attachments in here. I might as well just make it a Burglar's Turn deck. Right? Just take out those 6 attachments. And then I get a whole separate loot pile of attachments that can be, much better or different.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of times I think the contracts are very overshadowing. It's very, you don't see that many. I think there's less non-contract decks being built.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, Grant, what's your take on the contracts?
I like the contracts. Obviously, people who've seen me recently play a lot of games, I have been playing predominantly with contracted decks, whether that be in the Saga campaign that I'm doing with Ted or with Matt. I'm predominantly running a 3 Hunters deck, or have been running a 3 Hunters deck. And my 3 Hunters decks that I've played for Hunt for the Dreadnought and the Epic multiplayers speak for themselves. They are very powerful when they are built correctly. Now, I've built a couple of Grey Wanderer decks. I've played with Messenger of the King. There's a few of them that I haven't really played around with. Council of the Wise and Burglar's Turn I haven't really played around with. I recently put together a Bond of Friendship / Fourth of Three Hunters deck, just to see if I could build a somewhat functioning deck using the restrictions from both of these contracts.
So it's like a four hunters deck.
Basically, yes. So for that, I've got 10 cards of each sphere, and only up to 2 copies of each card. And obviously, the reductions on the restricted attachments from Fourth of Three Hunters with no allies. I have yet to test it, but I've got it built ready to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you'll see that in an upcoming stream, just as a one-off, just to see if it works at all.
I know. I thought about combining MOTK and Bond of Friendship. Like having a Messenger of the King.
Yeah.
Bond of Friendship, like Hobbit deck using Rosie as the leadership hero and stuff.
That's the thing. There's nothing stopping us from doing that.
The rules, Grant. The rules stop you from doing that.
Rules.
Right. But there's nothing on the individual contract saying that you can only have one contract in play. The way I look at it is, if you want to build, say, each one of these contracts, and as long as you're following the stipulations on the contract, whether that be you can't have any allies, you can only have 14 attachments for a burglar's turn and 4 to 3 hunters. I don't see the problem if you want to do that, if you can build a deck that can work with that.
Right.
Or a Messenger of the King in 4 to 3 hunters. You know what I mean? As long as you're having fun, I don't see the issue of combining decks with the contract.
And that's the So just to clarify, the rules do state that you can only build a deck with one. But what Grant is saying is absolutely true. That last I looked, my stairway over here, I don't see Caleb Grace poking his eyes out over my stairs, telling me that I can't do any of that stuff, because it's a cooperative game. So there's no reason to, not to try out something if you think it's going to be fun. Now, if you go to a con and, people, and you're playing in the competitive, or what's that? It's not the competitive mode. What is it? Is it competitive mode?
Yeah.
What do they call it, though? I feel like it's... Anyways. But yeah, so that, you're paying competitive mode. You can't put 2 contracts. But, that doesn't mean at a con you can't say, hey, listen, I'm doing a dual contract deck. Does anybody have a problem with it? And people be like, no, it's fun. Whatever. Do what you want.
Yeah. Could there be some game breaky things? Sure. But it's casual fun game. Yeah, you said it, David. It's just, have fun. It's like the errata, If you really don't like playing with the errata, then don't, and no one will know. Right. Just do it.
Right. If you want Burning Brand to be a non-restricted, cancel all shadows that attack that.
Yeah, if you really want to play that way, that's perfectly fine. But as David, as you pointed out, if you do go to a community event, whether that's at Con of the Rings or Gen Con or any of those types of things, or if you play online with the League of Cooperative Gaming events going on, definitely bring that up if that's what you're doing. Just because people will otherwise expect to be playing with current errata and FAQ type of thing.
Right.
But a lot of players probably won't mind.
Right. You just want to, I don't know. You just want to make sure that the people you're playing with know what you're doing. And then,
exactly.
And then
it's all about having fun and everybody at the table having fun.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's what we got for this show for Superlative February. We talked about the leadership allies. So I think on the last show of this week, we're going to talk about leadership attachments and events, and we will go from there. So everybody, join us as we continue with Superlative February. Have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.